That's the bluefin tuna. And I drove over with it all by myself. And do you think I could strike up a conversation? So in Port Lincoln, we the basic idea with catching them is the quota starts in late December or January. They send planes out into the fishing areas, and the planes spot the tuna. So you can imagine sort of football fields of tuna, and just the whole surface of a football field, just like a washing machine. So it's really good numbers out there this year. So we're very excited about Port Lincoln's. See, that was like ninja reflexes then. Okay, so with a tuna, you've got sort of three main cuts. There's a toro, which is a fatty belly, and the belly's extremely fat because it's quite thin, and it's got to protect the stomach from the cold. So that would be the most prized part, the toro. And then you have the shoe toro, which is a medium fat, and then the akami, which is the lean back strip. So if you can also think of a tuna like a cow, they in Japan, not to mention Japan, but Japan, there's about 22 different cuts. So they all go for different prices. So around the tail is a cheaper part because it's got a lot of sinews and things like that. So what I'll do is I'll break it down into the four main fillets. I'll just see if the knife's sharp. Oh, look how sharp the knife is, eh? Sorry. Okay, so there's four main fillets. We'll run our knife down the bloodline, and you do get a little bit of scales, so you obviously want to get rid of the scales before you make another cut. As I said, the tail is very sinewy and not super good for sashimi, so they use that for more cooked items. I'll run my knife down the back, along the backbone, and I think this fish has about a 68% yield. So now ideally with tuna, you want to give it about 3 days to set. The meat's got to sort of set into it, the fat sort of goes back into the flesh and has, so ideally you want about 3 days in the very cold fridge. Now we've got our wine here today. We're Boston Bay Wines is 30 years old this year. Mum and Dad started the winery up, and I think we're the closest winery in the world to the sea. Okay, so that's the loin, or the akami. I'll just get Abby to walk that around if you. It's very slippery. Maybe too slippery. So next I'll take off the belly. So with the belly, you often find what they've eaten. So, oh, look at that, a little crocodile. So, obviously, been eating crocodiles, but... So what they do, once the fishing fleets net the tuna when they're out at sea, and then they very, very slowly drag them back to Port Lincoln and then put them in farms, and then they fatten them for about 5 to 6 months. So that increases the return by about 30 or 40%. So there's a very, very clever way to do it, and it's been extremely good for Port Lincoln's economics. So I'll take the other side off. So when they're fattened and they get an order from Hong Kong or Japan or China, they will go out, the actual money will be transferred, a restaurant chain will order 600-700 fish, the guys will go out, and girls, and they'll lift the net up, and then they send in divers, and then the divers grab the fish by the gills and motor them back to the boat. Then there's a brain, like an apple corer put through the brain, a rod goes down the backbone that stops any shaking and kills the nerves, and the stomach's out, and all that happens in about 35 seconds. So it goes from swimming to in -60 ice slurry in 35 seconds. So you look at that compared to what we used to do 20-30 years ago when Dean Lucan was throwing the tuna, so really taking care of the fish. So I'll keep going here. Now I might, if I can, introduce our mayor who's come over especially for this event. This is my pleasure to introduce Bruce Green.
Thanks, Tony. He's doing a wonderful job here with our tuna. Actually, last weekend was our big event in Port Lincoln. We have our Tunarama, and you might have seen it on the television, where we actually have a competition throwing. We actually throw plastic tunas; they're not real ones, but it's a wonderful event. So you would love to see you come across to Port Lincoln. Our community, Port Lincoln City, has been very active in building a relationship with China. I was in Fujian province last year, and I've been supporting the Adelaide city build their Qingdao relationship in Shandong province. So we're starting to build relationships so that we get better access for our wonderful seafood products into China, but we're also opening up our community for Chinese investment to come into our part of the world. It's we see this is the future of Port Lincoln is inextricably around seafood and tourism, and we've got some tourist operators here. We have some seafood industry people here. So if anybody wants to come up to us a little bit later on and have a chat to these people, they'll be able to tell you a lot about what we do. So it's a two-way thing. We love to send our good product to China, and we welcome Chinese people to come to us as either tourists or investors. Tony, you don't want me to say much more? We've got a few other people to say something.
A couple more minutes, Bruce. Maybe tell us about the new airport.
Yeah, I'll tell you about the airport. We've got a $13.5 million regional airport that was opened just last weekend. During the week. So we've got state-of-the-art facilities. We've got a 4.5-star hotel that is just a wonderful spot to stay. We've got tourist operators who do everything from dive with the sharks, swim with the tuna, swim with the sea lions. We've got outback safaris, going off safaris where they'll take you out into the sand hills and help you catch a fish. We've got more product, tourism product. There's more things